Hey guys, it is CDTVProductions, and today we're going to be asking the question, what was the worst year for hip-hop? Now, as I haven't fully lived through or experienced every single year of hip-hop music, you know, being only 19, it's not like I'm 100 years old and I've experienced everything. So I turned to the internet to find out what were generally considered to be some of the worst years in hip-hop. So I went through, found the most commonly mentioned years, and today I'll be giving you guys my opinion on what I personally thought were the worst ones, but also present information about the different years to you, so you can also make up your own mind on the situation. This will be based on the albums released, the hit songs of that year, and what the kind of trends were in that year. So we got 4 different years on our list. Let's get started with the very first one.
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and
So 2006. Why was this cited as one of the worst years for hip-hop? Well, for one thing, there were a lot of one-hit wonders. This was kind of like the year for that. We got songs like Ridin' by Chamillionaire, which I really want to say is Chamillionaire. That just looks how it would be pronounced to me, but it's not. Shoulder Lean by Young Dro, and a song which I personally can't stand the sound of, Laffy Taffy by D4L.
Shake that Laffy Taffy, that Laffy Taffy, shake that Laffy Taffy, that Laffy Taffy, girl, shake that Laffy Taffy.
That whole song just hasn't aged well. Maybe it's because I don't have nostalgia attached to it. I know a lot of people like that song, but I just can't really get into it. Actually, a lot of rap music released in 2006 has very cheap sounding production, and I think Laffy Taffy almost exemplifies that. To be fair though, we also got singles from people like Nas, Eminem with You Don't Know, but overall I think in terms of hit singles, this year was pretty weak. But how did it do album wise? So in terms of albums, I'd say there weren't really many that stood out to as great to me in this year. There was a lack of great projects. There weren't really many in 2006 that I would say were necessarily noteworthy. Yes, Ghostface Killah dropped an absolute classic with Fish Scale. Lupe released Food and Liquor, but we also got Playing with Fire by Kevin Federline, which to this day is the lowest rated album on Metacritic, with a 15 out of 100. That is monstrously low. I was surprised when I saw that, so I listened to the album and I can't help but agree.
Yo, who got it better than me? For the line on the block, rolling VIP. Sick whip, thick rims, fat rocks, I got 'em. Shining like a superstar from top to bottom.
The beats sounded awful and the rapping was just really dull. Try and sit through the whole thing, see how you fare. Obviously, one really bad rap album doesn't make the whole year of music suck, but honestly, it felt kind of like there wasn't even that much rap music that did come out this year. If you're interested in how the critics felt about this year, the 10 highest rated albums of this year on Metacritic scored an average of 82.4 out of 100, which is pretty good. That just gives you an idea of how good the good projects were. Overall, I can see why people would choose this as one of the worst years for hip-hop. The one-hit wonders were kind of everywhere, and the classic albums were really not there for the most part. Also, DJ Khaled came into existence this year. I'll let you decide how you feel about that one.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why.
2007 can be summed up fairly quickly. I'll talk longer about parts of it, but to give a quick kind of summation of it, we got some really good albums this year, but the one-hit wonders were definitely still there. There was that This Is Why I'm Hot song by Yams, who happened to become decidedly not hot after that song faded out, and Soulja Boy started rapping this year. That is a terrible thing. Yup, 2007 was the year Soulja Boy released his album, which was titled SouljaBoyTell'em.com, which dates it so goddamn much. I guess it was a cool thing at the time, but it sounds so out of touch now. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I liked Crank That when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure every single kid did. And that was Soulja Boy's biggest hit, but it really helped to bring the trend of making songs about a dance to the forefront of hip-hop, a trend which has continued to this day. And in my opinion, that is a horrible, horrible trend. So yeah, 2007 did have some long-lasting negative effects, But there were some really good albums that dropped this year, like I said, one of the best of which was probably Graduation by Kanye West. Then also this year we got some albums from legends like Bone Thugs and the Wu-Tang Clan, which I can always appreciate. That's something I always enjoy usually. However, according to critics, this year's best albums weren't as good as the best albums from 2007. Taking the average Metacritic scores of the highest rated rap albums in 2007 gives you a score of 79.8. You may see that as relevant, you may not. It's really up to you how much stock you place on what critics have to say about albums. So yeah, there were definitely good albums, but nothing that really makes this look like a victorious year for hip-hop in my opinion. It honestly, looking back at it, it does look a little bit weak to me. Also, I felt like in this year R&B dominated the charts much more than hip-hop. And just let me reiterate this. This was the year that Soulja Boy started rapping.
Baby, you my everything. You all I ever wanted. We could do it real big, bigger than you ever done it.
So now for our second last year on this discussion, we have 2009. And honestly, I don't really know why this year was cited as particularly bad for hip-hop. Maybe not the best year, but I wouldn't say it's one that stood out to me as outstandingly awful. I saw someone say no classics dropped in this year, but we got Raekwon's sequel to his legendary Only Built for Cuban Links album, Eminem's Relapse, which I personally liked. I didn't love it, but a lot of people do love it. And we got to see people like Tyler, the Creator, start their career. Drake also cemented himself in hip-hop with his So Far Gone mixtape, whether you believe that's good or not. Thinking about it, that might be why some people chose this as one of the worst years for hip-hop, because I know there's some people that aren't too happy about the meteoric rise that Drake has had to becoming pretty much the biggest guy in hip-hop but also doing pop. It's a weird situation. Or maybe even these criticisms came from Flowrider being very popular in this era. Flowrider strikes me as that guy who should really have been a one-hit wonder, but somehow he stayed relevant by dropping essentially the same song with a different skin every year. I mean, he released 6 whole singles from his album released in 2009, and all of them charted, some of them fairly high up, especially one of them which you must remember if you were even alive through this era, is the song Right Round. Christ, I remember that one. Also, there were some disappointingness albums this year, like Busta Rhymes with Back on My BS. So, yet again, for the 10 highest rated albums Metacritic average, for this year the score is 81.1 out of 100. But overall, nothing stands out to me as overwhelmingly bad in this year. Maybe it was Flowrider, maybe it was Asher Roth, maybe people just consider a lot of the albums released in this year to be disappointing. But for me, I definitely wouldn't say this year was as bad as the last 2 that we covered. So with all that being said, let's get into the last year that we have on this discussion.
Taking all the liquor straight, never chase that. Now rooftop like we bringing 88 back.
So finally, 2014. And this one is a little bit different because this one was not only called the worst year in hip-hop by quite a few people online, this was actually called the worst year in hip-hop ever by ASAP Yams and Lord Jamar.
So do you think that 2014 is the worst year ever for rap music?
I mean, from what you just, some of the examples you just gave to me, it looks pretty bad. But it sounds like it could be a definite candidate. You know what I mean? If it's not the worst, it could be a good candidate for one of the worst.
So not only is it just people saying it online now, these are actual people from inside the rap game saying that 2014 was one of the worst years for hip-hop. But do I agree with them on that? Honestly, I'd say not at all. I think this was a very good year for rap, all in all, to be honest. And maybe like the worst trend to come out of it was DJ Mustard. I liked his beats at first, like they do have that catchiness, but they are ridiculously simplistic, and after a while they all started to sound the same. And a large percentage of hit singles in this year were produced by him. He produced like 11 singles in this year that made it to the charts. I will admit that was kinda a downside, but there were few albums I'd consider to be downright bad here. The only ones I disliked were Iggy Azalea's is The New Classic and Black Hollywood by Wiz Khalifa, which I consider to be quite disappointing. Now when I say they're the only downright bad albums of the year, I don't mean they're the only bad ones, just the only ones that stood out to me as either thoroughly bad or disappointing. Then there were other people who dropped albums that could be considered as not exactly meeting expectations, such as 50 Cent and The Game. But when you look at the good albums we got this year, when you look at the great albums we got this year, it by far, for me, outweighs the bad. Logic's Under Pressure, YG's My Crazy Life, Vince Staples with Hell Can Wait, J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive, Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 2. The list just goes on and on. There are so many great albums that I could list off from this year. Sure, the songs that we got on the charts weren't that good, but if you take a step back and look at the year as a whole, I think what we got out of it was pretty damn great. So, out of all these years, I think this one is the least deserving to be on here because, to be honest, I think 2014 was a very, very good year for hip-hop. So finally, it is time to answer the question, which one of these years was the worst for hip-hop music? I'm gonna have to say 2007, closely followed by 06. The reason I chose 07 as the worst is due to, again, the one-hit wonders and the effect that songs like Crank That would go on to have as hip-hop as a whole, effects which are still kind of being seen to this day. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Soulja Boy started rapping in 2007. That's the only reason why I think it was worse than 2006. 2007 had kind of a bit more widespread implications for rap, whereas 2006 was kind of bad in its own self-contained way. So if I rank them in order from the worst to the best, I'd say it goes 2007, closely followed by 2006, then 2009, and then 2014, which I don't even think deserves to be considered in this conversation. But what do you guys think? Are there any years that are not in this discussion video that you consider to be the worst? As always, everyone is going to have a different opinion on this, and one of the reasons why I make these discussion videos is so we can have a debate about it in the comments. So leave your thoughts down there in the comments below. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really hope you all enjoyed this one, and I hope you enjoy the more discussion style videos that have been coming out recently. I posted about it on my Twitter. You can go there and check it out to see the kind of new direction my channel is taking, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, because I'll have a lot more content similar to this coming in the future. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'd appreciate if you could share the video to help it get out there, and follow me on my Instagram under the username at CDTVProductions, where I only post the freshest memes. Thank you so much for watching. It's like the third time I've said that. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. This is CDTV Productions, signing out.